enterprise architecture. This project will support its rollout across MDAs that will give us the blueprint for government digital infrastructure. So, component 4 is for project management support, but the new project that the World Bank is creating in most of the new projects is component 5, which really is normally 0, but it will turn out, God forbid, the $50 million we are talking about. And that is the contingency emergency response component. This is a lesson learned during the COVID. When COVID struck, there are a lot of money, project money, all around the place, but government was struggling to kickstart the implementation of COVID response. So what the World Bank is now doing is that when they are designing new projects, they put that component and treat it as 0. But if today, God forbid, an emergency to happen and government declares an emergency, it means that government has leverage to use some of these kind of monies to start response, because life is wealth. Everything we're talking about here, if we are not healthy, we can't benefit from it. So that's component 5. This is our implementation disbursement plan. Normally projects start slowly, so year 1 of our project, we are expected to draw down $2 million. By the time we go to year 2, that will increase to $5 million, and cumulatively 7. Year 3, another 12, cumulatively 19, etc., until we draw down to the project conclusion. So now the project components themselves, like I said, component 1, expand broadband access, increase resilience of digital environment. This one is to provide support to improve broadband market competition, access, and address existing digital divides in Sierra Leone. So, sub-component broadband market policy. So here, for instance, we are supporting NAFTA to do a comprehensive market study so that they are able to determine what we normally call the significant market player, because they have an important role to play. So currently, everybody is a significant market player, but ideally, somebody is leading the market, and there is responsibility on that person. So we are supporting NAFTA to do that. We are also supporting NAFTA to do tariff study, so that, currently, really, there's really no scientific approach to how we set tariffs in Sierra Leone. I think one sector that has achieved that is which sector? If we all know that EV citizens, we expect it to happen when we see the triggers, the petroleum. Now, EV citizens, they say, petroleum can't go, because they have developed a scientific approach to it, and there are indicators that all of us are monitoring. One is the dollar, the other is the market, the world market price, etc., etc. So that's the kind of approach we want the telecom sector also to have, so that when we see the triggers, as citizens, we are not shocked when it happens, when tariffs go up or down, because we know the triggers are there. So we're supporting them to do that. We are also supporting them to do what we call the internet exchange point, because in Sierra Leone currently all our traffic are leaving the country, even though they are meant to be local. When I'm here, I'm sending an email to my colleague just next door. It will go to Boston in USA or somewhere in France before it comes to the next door. So we will be supporting NATCA and the private sector to set up an internet exchange point where the traffic that are meant to be local, they don't leave the shores of Sierra Leone. Because that is also adding on the overhead of the operators, leading to increase in price. So that's something we'll be supporting them to do. But more importantly, also we'll be supporting NATCA with real equipment for spectrum management, quality of service monitoring, network improvement, etc., because those are very critical for us. Under the last mile connectivity, we wish to provide last mile connectivity access to selected public institutions, including MDAs, local government offices, etc., So this one, currently, there is an RFP that will be going out for a firm that will be selected to come, first of all, do a countrywide assessment for us of the current government connectivity infrastructure, what are the gaps, and help us to design a whole of government approach to connectivity, so that when, for instance, the Ministry of Finance roll out IFMIS, even the last MDA in somewhere out of Freetown will be able to access it seamlessly. Inclusive access for underserved and marginalized communities. We'll be working with UADF with other partners to actually support rural connectivity, etc., etc. Increased resilience. We'll be working with Cyber Center, EPA, and others to achieve that. Digital skills, yes. So the first thing we are trying to do is to understand most of what's happening there. A lot of institutions are doing something there, something here, but really we don't have statistics, we don't have a real picture of what is happening. So there's already TA, a technical assistant out there that will be doing what we refer to as a comprehensive market analysis on the demand and supply side for digital skills, but more also to look at the potential of the gig economy, so that when we start really rolling out our digital skills component, we are able to target those skills that we can give our young people and for them to become marketable to participate in the global digital economy that Tomensa was talking about. We'll be doing digital literacy training, we'll be doing hackathon, etc., boot camp to really stimulate the use of digital skills. Under component 2, drone, we'll work with the Ministry of Transport and Aviation and Civil Aviation to complete the work they've started on the drone regulation, develop a drone policy and strategy, but more importantly, design use case, as Madam Minister was saying, for agriculture that is a flagship project now. Component 3 will be focusing more on government capacity to deliver services digitally. So we look at infrastructure, we look at services, we will be supporting the full digitalization of cabinet, we will be looking at the full digitalization of parliament, we will start a scoping mission for the digitalization of the justice sector so that the 3 arms of government are fully digitalized, but more importantly also we'll be doing the digital service standard and prioritization to support the development of citizens-facing services. So there will be a survey that will be asking citizens, which services do you think that is critical for you, that you want to see that is digitized? Maybe it could be access to birth certificate, access to some other thing, but that's something that the project will be looking at also. Our annual work plan that was approved, like I said, under the project governance structure, every year the PCU is supposed to working with the technical lead agency to pull together an annual work plan from the project part. So once we do that, we take it to the steering committee for approval. It is only when that document is approved that we can forward to the bank for disbursement. So the $50 million is not actually sitting with us, we are pulling it by tranches. So last year the work plan was developed for us, and this is the status of where we are on those work plans. The market study, tariff and cost study that I talked about, we are currently at RFP stage. That means the TO has been approved, expression of interest has been analyzed. We are now about to issue to competent firms the request for proposal so that we can go to the actual implementation. SLIT, the EOI, the TO has been approved, so we have an EOI stage, that's the Australian Internet Exchange. Institutional gap assessment for NATCA. You know, NATCA has transitioned from NATCOM to NATCA with new, bigger mandate. So we'll be supporting them to do an institutional gap assessment to realign themselves, especially in view of the fact that the project will be using about $2 million to support them with equipment so that we are able to use them judiciously. Yeah. Under last mile connectivity, this is not really directly funded by the project, but the World Bank itself will be doing some feasibility study for last mile connectivity and inclusive access. We have the TOR stage, innovative technology for rural access study. This one is to be initiated. Other components, 1.3 rural broadband, mobile broadband program manual. TOR stage, the innovative technology assistant to preparatory study for this course study. We are to initiate that one. During the elections, we provided minimal support to the new Cyber Coordinating Center to really provide some public education awareness on identity theft, fake news, and things like that. So that's the completed activity. To develop the National Cybersecurity Skills Strategy and Action Plan, we are yet to initiate that one. CIIP, the Critical Information Infrastructure Protection, we are the TOR state. Now this is very important for all of us because in Sierra Leone, most countries, if you go there, they have what they call the critical infrastructure that they've identified and they've classified them. So according to the Act, it says that the President, based on an advice from the Minister, shall declare certain infrastructure as critical to our well-being. These are infrastructure, if anything is to happen to them, it will have a direct impact on the life security of Sierra Leoneans. I give you a typical example, Lester Peak. All of us know the importance of Lester Peak, but we don't really know that Lester Peak is important for us. All our communication gadgets are located there. If you are listening to radio in the morning, one go off, you go to the next one, you go off. What is happening? What is the first thing that comes to mind? Lester Peak. Me, I can always say, Lester Peak don't go off. Because we are all of them are located, so the only moment that you see all of them off is something that's happened at Lester Peak. So those are the kind of assessment that we'll be doing to declare them so that the President will declare them as critical national infrastructure. Once that happens, the Cyber Center will also put out an SOP as how we manage those kind of facilities. It does not have to be something that belongs to government. It could be a private ownership. Take for instance mobile money. If the server for online money is to go down, it will affect all of us. AFISEC, QSEC, it will affect all of us. So it belongs to them. It's a private ownership, but because it affects the citizens and government concerns for the citizens, government will put together a modality of how you manage and ensure that there is continuity in the delivery of service from those kind of facilities. So we'll be supporting the center to really do a comprehensive analysis and identify those services for us so that we can declare them. Awareness strategy, yes. So other component 2, the TOR for the studies that I talked about have been reviewed. We have received back comments, so we are now reviewing them so that it can be finalized. Then strategy, drone policy and strategy to be initiated with Ministry of Transport. Drone regulation, this is an ongoing technical support that we are providing to Civil Aviation Authority. Component 3.1, the infrastructure assessment that I talked about, this one is at RFP stage. Digital service standard is at RFP stage. The government-wide area network RFP stage. The government hosting and storage infrastructure RFP stage. Assistant to assess data application hosting RFP stage. So basically, this is my last slide. For the digitalization of cabinet, the initial work which is to do a scoping of what is currently existing at cabinet, what are the challenges, and then come up with a proper design for a full-blown e-cabinet system. This one, it's actually, it should not be an RFP stage. This is an approved TOR stage. The TOR has been approved. Oh yes, it's down. The TOR for cabinet has been approved, and the TOR for parliament is under review. So that once they are completed, we go to the RFP stage. And the final activity was the deep dive for e-justice, like that I talked about. This one is to be initiated. We are currently having a conversation with the leadership at the Ministry of Justice to implement it. So basically, this is about the project and update on the status of implementation. So in terms of the work plan, when we go into breakout session, we printed the kind of proposed work plan for next year. We'll briefly look at them, talk about them, and then we'll give our comment and feedback for that. So in short, this is the presentation I have on the project. I will entertain few questions and then we'll break into session. Thank you. And lights is here. Yes, comments, few questions and then we'll break to session. Yes, sir. Do we have a mic that is going around? Support from the hotel. Or we can pass this around, please.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Parliament, I want to thank you for an explicit presentation. So our concern, since Parliament is now fully seated and we have kickstarted the 6th Parliament, we are dearly in need of the e-Parliament. So whilst you are making your presentation, I note you said the directive has been submitted, but yet to be approved. So I just want to ask the question, is there a bottleneck or a challenge, and what should we do? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Asiri Primanovali, Initiative for Women and Girls with Disability and from the Disability Community. Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. It's been a wonderful presentation. And thank you for your invite for persons living with disability. I have a few questions I would like to ask. In respect to the project, I have you say it's inclusive. And when we talk of inclusivity, we don't want to see it in passive. We want to see it in reality. We all know people living with disability, we are more vulnerable, especially women. And you mentioned that in your project presentation. Women, that project had to cater for women. And if we are talking of vulnerability of women and women living with disability, we are more vulnerable. Like for me, I'm a blind person. So with this project, I believe women living with disability will have to benefit more. But now what I want to actually know is, from the steering committee, if we are talking of inclusivity, from the steering committee to the technical committee, is there a disabled person in that committee? I would like to know that. And if there is, I would like to know whether there is a woman there, a disabled woman. Because we're talking of inclusivity and gender. Because all the time we've been seeing it, gender equality, but when it comes to reality, women with disability, we are ostracized. So we don't want to always be mentioned in passive. We want to see the reality on the ground. I would like to know that if there is a person, because if we are doing all this, we're talking of inclusion, I think from the technical and steering committee, there should be a representative of persons living with disability to actually champion our issues. And then secondly, I would like to know, how is this project, digitalization, going to benefit directly persons living with disability? Because for us, like blind people, we need it mostly. When we talk of everything, like the phones we use now, is more of ultra-modern technology. So if there is a training, I believe there should be a baseline, a database, capturing people across the country who could benefit from this project and return to us and serve as ambassadors for persons living with disability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for the very critical and important question. And I thank you for attending to our invitation. So, my first response to the steering committee is yes. So, the National Council on People with Disability? National Commission is actually represented by the Executive Secretary on the steering committee. Unfortunately, we don't have a disabled woman on the steering committee, but I'll take note of your concern. In terms of benefits, so one thing I forgot to mention about under the project also is we will be doing some minimal support to assistive technology for people living with disability. And also, in our project, one of the role of the social and environmental and social safeguard person is to ensure that whatever the project is doing, there is consideration for vulnerable communities. So for instance, we are actually working on the digital service standard. So our role is to ensure that that standard caters for people living with disability. Another benefit directly is we will be doing an assessment. Even the last mission when they were here, they visited very few institutions that are dealing with training for disabled people, most especially blind. I think there is one, is it Dorothy? Yes. We visited that center. We will make visit to other places. We are planning to visit. I think there's one in Grafton. Yes. So even your place we can visit. But there's an assessment that is coming to look at all of these places and see how do we partner with them to support them. So all of the training that we will be planning. That's why in the indicator you see that percentage of people living with disability and women, vulnerable women. So the baseline assessment is coming and then we'll be doing that. So for me this was very critical and I thank you for your question. For Parliament, no, there's no bottleneck. The TOR will go through its normal iteration. Participate in the review iteration once we all agree to be approved. So currently we don't have a bottleneck for that. Thank you.
Any other?
Somebody sounds okay.
Okay, that's all.
Few then will break.
Critical in our digital age. So, how far have you considered our institutions in terms of working with the ministry in terms of digital skills development? I'm saying this particularly, most of the universities now have digital hubs, digital learning hub. In terms of developing the curriculum, how far have you, or are you planning to interface with our institutions to support you on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Benjamin Franklin Bright. I'm from Sensi Tech Innovation Hub. I'm very happy to be here. My concern is about the second activity, which has to do with skills, capacity building. We all understand the fact that if we want this digital transformation to succeed, we have to ensure that we empower the ordinary Sierra Leoneans with digital skills to be able to use these technological infrastructure. For us, we are an innovation hub that provides digital skills, capacity building for young people who could not make it or meet the university requirements to go to university, but they will also have the skills. How are you going to incorporate innovation hubs, not only us, but across the country, to make sure that those who really want to be educated or have the skills be able to access it? Because the challenge here is to have an advanced technological infrastructure. The other challenge is not only access to internet, but to have a stable and reliable internet connectivity. We paid a lot of money to get access to internet, but the discourage we have from this is because the internet connectivity is really poor. So many a time, even if you want to roll out trainings on digital programs, it will take you longer time. So how do you manage to cope with these challenges to ensure that this digital transformation is successful, and also how can you incorporate other technical institutions that provide digital skills for young people in the country, which will also help us, because I want to believe targeting the schools, we have thousands of schools. I don't think this program will be able to tackle schools to develop technical skills within those schools, wherein you can have a hub there or a digital learning center there. But if you can empower the other existing establishments like the universities, tech vocational institutions, and also other computer training centers, I think we'll be able to reach out to more people. Thank you.
I'm Brahma Victor Kamara. I'm the Deputy Director General, National Civil Registration Authority. Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. The National Civil Registration Authority has been enjoying close partnership and collaboration with the Ministry of Information and Communication then, when communication was part of that ministry. And being the custodian of data and population of the country, I just want to highlight some of the relevance of this project to all of us, as it will help to improve public good governance and also increase access to services. Over the years, we have seen a lot of challenges in accounting for public resources. And one of the key dividends of our work, the National Civil Registration Authority, we are able, with support from all our partners, to claim the payroll of the government of Sierra Leone, wherein it is now predictable and accountable. So moving forward, Mr. Jallo, in your presentation, you share with us that there are key agencies that will be working along with in this project. I don't know if you are going to throw light on those agencies and see what will be the critical role of the National Civil Registration Authority, or if that will be done during the discussion that will be going to the different components. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the pertinent questions. I think the first two was on digital skills. So like I said, the approach we are taking from the project is not to second guess. We want to actually approach this from a scientific point. So that is why we are doing the comprehensive market analysis. So we are conducting a comprehensive market study to assess the digital skill supply and demand side. What this means is that we want to know which institutions are providing digital skills, how, which components, and also the kind of level where we are. So once we do this, we are able, because what we'll be looking out for also is partnership with some key already existing service providers. So that is why we'll be doing that assessment. So once we do the assessment, the report of the assessment will guide us as to which institutions are doing, how they're doing it, how do we collaborate with them to enhance already what they are doing, so we'll not be reinventing the wheel. Yes, definitely there will be possibility for partnership with tech innovation hubs, like you have Madam Minister, she's very passionate about tech innovation hubs, etc., etc. So we'll be really partnering with them, especially for the boot camps, the hackathons, etc., etc. I think the other one was the NTR. Yes, NTR is a very critical player in the digital circle right now, because you are sitting on the gold mine. You know, for everything we are talking here, the foundation is the identity, the data. So again, I think what I will also do is that I encourage you to open up that space, because we will be developing a digital service standard, and people will be wanting data to develop services. Each time you want to develop a service, you need data, and the foundation of data is what NCR is holding. So we'll definitely work with NCR to ensure that, like, the citizen-facing services, when we want to support their development, there will be a rule for your institution. I think those were the 2 questions that I had. So, I shall support this now. I think it's the last one.
Good afternoon, everybody. Excuse me. I am Daniel Makima, Vice Principal, Educational Center for the Blind. Before going to my question, let me first of all thank Madam Masir Brema Labadi. She really keyed into something very important in relation to the inclusiveness of women with disabilities as well as persons with disability in the technical as well as the steering committee areas. Because I wanted to ask a question on that, but I want to thank Masir. And by the way, Masir Brema is also a product of the Educational Center for the Blind, because she went blind when she was in university, final year, and that was very, very heavy on her, and so she happened to find herself at the Ministry of the Educational Center for the Blind, and she was rehabilitated, and also went through her computer training skills. In all the deliberations, I didn't hear of power supply, and we're all talking about internet and digitalization. My problem is, or question is this digital transformation project going to address the issue of power supply, because the current power supply system is really, when I would say unreliable, especially those of us in the rural sector. I mean, sometimes it takes a whole week we don't have power supply. And operating sensitive institutions like that, with persons with disability, we highly rely on power supply, even with the utmost speed of internet. So the issue of solar systems and electricity in general, I don't know how the digital transformation system is going to address that. I didn't hear anything of that sort. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel S. Kamara, Office of the President. My own concern is digitization of educational tuition. I think we have to make more effort on that, because I'm a beneficiary of digital education for about 40 years. And if we digitize schools, we are helping to divert youth's attention. You know, the social media stuff, they have a lot of things that distract their attention. But digitization with learning management systems, websites, and augmented realities can help them so much make use of the opportunities in digital education. And the next point is we have so many people losing our authors, our entertainers, and content creators, because we can't be paid on YouTube and some other online platforms. So I think this project should, based on that, should advocate for that, for the country to invest in connecting to PayPal so that our authors can get paid and other people who create content. I think that would be a very good market for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. General. Melvin King, a citizen of Sierra Leone, as usual. I don't want to identify my institution. decision because
Why?
I'm part of this project. But my comment is like to commend the project coordinating unit for hosting such a very good workshop, a stakeholder engagement workshop. We need this because a lot of people have been hearing about this $50 million project around here, and people may be thinking that this money is money hanging somewhere that anybody could just tap into. So doing such a workshop, a stakeholder engagement workshop, presenting what are the components, who would benefit, what would this project help with, and based on the statements made by all three presenters earlier, the minister, the representative from finance, we all know what this is about. My concern now, or my advice now to the project coordinating unit is for them to clearly state when we should expect next engagement, and to be keeping people abreast with what are the progress, what have been done in the next 6 months. So when next are we coming to such an engagement to know, okay, all these that were mentioned that were in the TR stage, in RFP stage, have been completed. Let's see the progress within the next 5 years. So that's my comment. Thank you. Actually, from NATCOM.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo, for that brilliant overview of the project. In your submission, you mentioned that Sierra Leone will have access to digital infrastructure by 2030. I see the project having the same focus with the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. The Sendai framework has 7 targets, and among these key targets is target E, which talks about providing accurate and timely information to people living in vulnerable communities, so that those people will be able to prepare for and respond to disasters. For the National Disaster Management Agency, we see this as a laudable venture, and we look forward to working with the management team, the project team, so that we'll be proud of having a proper annual system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Abubakar Sapitorun, I'm the Deputy CEO, Universal Access Development Fund. Thank you, Mr. Jallo and the PCU for this meeting. Like my brother Mel mentioned, I think this is long overdue, but they say it's better too late than never. So moving forward, we would like to encourage the Secretariat and the PCU to at least once in a while someone else to discuss some issues around the project, look at timelines and immediate deliverables and what I expected next. My concern actually is not very directed at UAPF, because we are part of the project by the way, but I am keen about the sustainability of this project. We have to be mindful that this is a 5-year project. It has started, and at the end of the 5 years, this project will be ending. And this project, the components of this project involve the deployment of infrastructure, by so many institutions. One concern, and I've always raised this with the PCU, is how do we strengthen collaboration? How do we strengthen collaboration among the relevant stakeholders to ensure that we work, we don't work in silos, but we work as a team, especially targeting our efforts towards achieving the goals of this particular project. That is key because sometimes we have had very good projects, but at the end of the project lifespan, when the funds cease and there is no commitment, to maybe sustaining the deliverables of that project, those projects turned into white elephants. So sustainability is very key, Mr. Jallo and team. So please, I want to know whether there is any mechanism. If there isn't, I think coordinating the relevant institutions that are working on very closely related programs could be one of the strategies that we use to enhance sustainability. Also, I have a concern about the digital skills training. Of course, we know as we talk about digital transformation, one challenge that we have in country is the skills. Majority of the people of Sierra Leone are living in the rural communities, and we have very huge skill gaps in those parts of the country. If we are talking about extending technological services to those communities, we should be thinking strongly about building the skill set of those people, those residents of those communities, so that we can be able to put those services and technologies into very good use for benefit in education, in agriculture, in health, and so many other sectors. So, but one challenge I am aware of, I don't know if this project has taken note of that, or this project will address that in the future. I know that currently there is no clear manual, harmonized manual that we use in country, for rolling out digital capacity building in the tech industry. So what will happen at the end of the day? We have a lot of people who have offered trainings, but because we don't have a harmonized training manual, they are offering different components of training. So there is no way, for instance, you can be able to measure the level of knowledge, of a community when it comes to the utilization of technology services or devices. So our advice, if it's not noted already, our advice that we think strongly about how we develop a harmonized training manual. So we know at stage one, if you say we are going to train communities on digitalization, level 1 of the training should cover X, Y, Z, level 2 should cover the other component. So from time to time, we should be able to measure what are the real gaps in existence in terms of digital skills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the leadership again for organizing this stakeholder workshop. I just want to comment a couple of things. One, you've already mentioned on the skills assessment, right? So once the market assessment is done and you identify gaps in skills around the whole country based on the country's objectives, either the president's overall 5 pillars, what he wants to accomplish in fees alone and all those things. Then we're expecting the institutions that are providing training, innovation hubs, universities like Jalai University, IPAM, you can partner with either technology companies to develop a proposal and a proposal in terms of what skills you can offer in the marketplace. This is what I think the ministry will be expecting from universities that are already teaching ICT skills in various areas. And then in terms of the power question that came up, the dialogue on energy, on introducing renewable energy in the communities, especially in the rural areas where maybe the wired infrastructure is not there yet to provide energy. You might have solar panels, different farms in different communities that support the rural community. So even in your homes, you will be able to access power, to then access the internet from your devices. And then within the schools, when you roll out the broadband internet in schools, you will then have the backup UPS or solar panel energy that can support access to the internet in case power goes out. So that's one way it's usually done to take care of power. Even in societies where there's constant electricity supply, there's always backup UPS systems, backup generators in case the power goes down, so that your internet and your connectivity outside will occur. So that's the only comment that I have to make on that. Sorry to steal your thunder, yeah.
Once more, thank you for the round of questions. And some comments which we welcome. That's the essence of this gathering here, is to receive input from the stakeholders so that it will enhance the project visibility and implementation. So I think there was, of course, the one on energy, the answer is no. We are not the energy ministry. But however, we are working with them in partnership with them. So when we will be doing our assessment for connectivity, those are all issues we will look into. But the encouraging sign that we are seeing is that we are seeing an increase in rural electrification, which is good for us, because when we embark on rural connectivity, that's a footprint that we would like to follow. So in fact, if you look at our project document, there is actually a map of the current rural electrification footprint, which is an indication that that's something that we would like to follow, because there's no way you are going to provide connectivity in an area without electricity. There was a question of engagement. When the next? So our next planned engagement will be the regional engagement. Like I said, this is not a Freetown digital transformation project. This is a Sierra Leone digital transformation project. So we must take it across the country. So we are planning regional engagement to engage the regions on the project. But the target is that, like I said, there is a stakeholder engagement plan, and in that plan, it says that at least one engagement per quarter. So you will be hearing from us in the next quarter, which starts January. But our primary engagement plan is regional engagement. We want to ensure that if we cannot go to all districts, but at least let's engage the district at the regional level. Yeah, I think on the sustainability, that's why the project approach is that let's create ownership from the beginning. All the activities are led by competent institutions for those kind of things. Everything regulatory, NAFCA. So it means NAFCA should create ownership. When the project comes to an end, the capacity will be in NAFCA to continue those kind of things. Rural connectivity, UADF. Digital skills, that's why we are doing the assessment to see who and who will be partnering with. So everything we are doing. When it comes to the NDA connectivity, that's why MOPTI is leading on it, because that is one of their core mandates to ensure that the government gets connectivity. So there's already sustainability tied in the way we are implementing the project. Through a whole of government approach. I like the idea of a digital skills development manual. And this is something that the new National Cyber Security Coordinating Center is looking at. So one of her activities is that she will be doing a cyber skills development strategy. So what she intends to do is to actually work with the institutions, the universities, but at least work with them to develop a kind of minimal basic standard that you expect, because we need to create our own pool of cyber experts. Not every time that we have to go out. So that's one thing that she has asked for the project to support, to develop that skills development strategy, and then work with the institution to implement it. So again, maybe when we do the assessment for the digital skills component, that is something that we will look into. Yes, the assessment, that's why we are doing it. So I think with this, I want to say that we can safely break into groups. We have identified 3 groups based on the project component. Some people directly know where their interest is, but for the benefit of the others, I'll just go through how we have configured the groups. So group 1, we know that NAFCA will be interested in that group conversation. MOPTI, the MNOs, ISPs in the room, they will be interested in that, because SLIX is actually being driven by them. SLIX SLICs will be a private sector kind of undertaking, but more importantly also, I know that they are interested in some of the assessment that we'll be doing around market assessment, etc., etc. So they want to know what's happening there. UADF, Cyber, NDMA, EPA, Group 1. Group 2, DSTI, Technical Higher Education, NACOM, Civil Aviation, Youth, Women, and Disability representatives, and public institutions. But I think public institutions should be interested in Group 1 also, because that's where the connectivity conversation would happen. When the public institutions, like here right now, the universities, we are referring to them as public institutions. If there is a library, like somebody that is managing the library in the room, you are considered as a public institution. So that's where you should be. The ministries are the MTB, of course, the ministry, department, and agencies. But other public institutions, anything that is not a ministry, a department, or an agency, that's where we are classifying them. So the universities, if there is a health representative here, not the ministry, that's where we'll put you. Component 3, multi again, DSTI, CAPSET, Parliament, and again, public institution, because component 3 is where the infrastructure and development will be supported. So again, that's the kind of composition. But people are free, based on the component that I presented, to choose where they will want to be. So I don't know if the configuration is ready for the group work.
What's the time email?
You want to facilitate how the group is. Who sent it? Who sent it? Two here.